Hello and welcome back to Learn It from a Layman. I am Carl Christensen. I'm joined today by Cameron and Matt. We're going to be doing something new, a podcast first. And for a podcast that's been around as long as we have, this is big deal. We're going to be doing kind of a book club series, a Layman book club. And we're going to be doing a variety of literature, different books that you've never heard of, books that you're very familiar with, and hopefully just get a whole. We have an eclectic taste among our co-hosts here, so I think it'll be useful to get an idea what we read and how it affects us. So.
Well, eclectic in this case kind of means one of us likes to read, one of us tolerates reading, and one of us is aware that there is such a thing as books. And I'll let you figure out who's who.
Yeah, well, I think I was actually talking to Cameron about this relatively recently. Cameron, I believe, is actually the most prolific reader as of recent.
Don't spoil it.
Okay.
But yes, he is.
Yes. And as Matt already seems to have alluded to, despite the mini podcasts where Matt shares a lot of knowledge, Matt is not a big novel guy. So we'll get to see that today, I think. But today's topic, today's book, will be The Giver. We decided to do this one first because largely it's a book that I think everyone, like a lot of middle schools, have this as required reading. I believe I read it sometime in my relatively early childhood. So this is something that I think a lot of, at least Americans, are familiar with at a relatively young age, but it's something that even as an adult has some appeal and has some interesting topics in it. So Cameron's going to contribute, Matt's going to contribute, but before they chime in about The Giver and some of the ideas, I'm going to give you a little bit of background. I figured that if you've clicked on a podcast about The Giver, you probably want kind of a synopsis, a summary. We're going to be doing all kinds of spoilers because the book was, published 30 something years ago. And if you haven't read it, well, you're not going to. So, or maybe you clicked on this podcast because you haven't read it.
That isn't that part of the motivation for us doing these? Is
you should read it.
You should. That is true, but you should read it and then listen to this podcast if you want that experience. Otherwise, you probably clicked on this because it's your middle school assignment or your high school assignment or whatever it is, and you want a quick Spark Notes version that's maybe slightly more entertaining.
There are much easier ways to get the school synopsis than by listening to us.
Yeah, but people always
Your AI tools will get you that very quickly. Not that you should use them, you filthy cheaters.
Yeah, but this is more entertaining.
I totally did not use AI to write an essay to get into my master's program recently. I did not.
Yeah.
Excellent.
AI is abundant, but we are not AI, and we'll prove it. Darn it. So let's talk a little bit about
We're full of fallacies.
That's exactly.
So is AI.
Yeah, ours aren't as much hallucinations as they are just flat out ignorance. So,
yeah, fair enough. Also, I've only read 2 books this month.
But The Giver was not one of them. So,
I actually was going to read it last night, but then I got distracted by TV.
It happens. Okay, let's start.
I mean, you can sit down, you can read it in 3 hours.
It's a relatively short quick read, but let's talk. Okay, so the author of the book is Lois Lowry. Lois Lowry, absolutely amazing author. She has done a variety of books. She's still alive. We could go on.
She's not part of the Spice family.
Spice family?
Lowry Spices.
Oh,
that's
salt. True. Okay, yeah, didn't come from the Lowry money. Okay. Exactly. Actually, I don't know that. It's possible that she is, right? Maybe. Okay. Anyway, She author of a variety of books. The Giver won the Newbery Award, and if you don't know what the Newbery Award is, it's a book, an award, a literary award given to outstanding adolescent children books every year. And so, receiving the Newbery Award for your book is quite an accomplishment. And so, she won it multiple times. So she's obviously a very gifted author. And The Giver, she wrote and published in 1993. And so it's been around for quite a while. And interesting fact, before we give you a little bit of background on The Giver, is that the idea behind The Giver she said that it was inspired by an interaction with her father, who was losing his memory and kept forgetting about the long ago death of her sister. And so that was her inspiration for writing the book The Giver, was this idea that memories are an important part of our humanity, and they give us kind of this human experience with emotions and give us a depth. So
since we're doing new things all the time, we're going to do another new thing in that we're actually going to take people that don't know stuff out of the podcast and substitute them with people that do kind of know what they're talking about. And so with that, I am going to recuse myself from this one. And yes, I have read this book, but it was within a year or two of it being published back in the early 90s, and my knowledge on this one is faded. However, as great literature moves from generation to generation, so has the experience moved to the next generation. And so, with that, my daughter is taking over as the guest lecturer on this podcast.
Guest lecturer, welcome. Hi.
Nice to be here, I guess.
Hey, well, that's what most of our listeners think as well, about their level of enthusiasm. Okay, well, we're about to do a plot summary, and then we're going to dig into particular anything that jumps out. It's parts of it that you really loved, or any specific talking points you want to hit on. We'll come back to. But I'm going to give a quick plot summary, and then we'll talk about any of the specifics in The Giver that we think are great. So the really high level overview of The Giver is there's the main character's a boy named Jonas, just about to turn 12 years old, and he lives in a dystopian community that is very controlled by a group called the Elders. Right, they're in charge of the family units. They're in charge of what you do, and so there's a lot of top-down control, and everyone is very shallow, I guess is the way to put it. So the
Are you sure it's a dystopian?
I'd say it's dystopian.
I would say it is. I would say it is a dystopian world with a utopian feel.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could argue that like any dystopia probably thinks it's a utopia. I mean, that's why they exist as a dystopia. I don't know. Anyway, that's an interesting point. But
That Ursula Le Guin short story.
I'm not familiar with that.
It's the one where it's like the city is perfect and everything is great, except all of the accumulated suffering that would go to the people goes to this one boy who's like locked in the basement.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, that's relatively, I mean, that's similar a bit to the Giver's plotline, right? So the 12-year-old boy, Jonas, is about to get assigned a profession, essentially an apprenticeship. And so there's this big community event where the kids turning 12 go, and the whole community shows up, and each boy is assigned each boy and girl are assigned a new profession, or apprenticeship in that profession, and they do it in order, and Jonas gets skipped. And it's a big deal. It's never happened before in anyone's memory. Anyway, so he gets skipped. It's coming to the end, and then they call him at the end, and he has this special job. He's assigned to be the receiver, and the receiver turns out to be a receiver of memories. And like I said, we don't want to get too much into all the plot unless we want to specifically hit. So high level, Jonas is assigned to go and get the community's essentially repressed memories, from the person that Jonas calls the giver. The giver is the one that currently holds all of these memories, and he's giving them to Jonas. And these are memories of happy things and incredibly sad and evil and dark things. And so Jonas begins to see the world in a whole different light, and literally a whole different light. Like the world is black and white before, and as you get these memories, it's color, it's vibrant. All the feelings and the ideas that have been repressed by the community, Jonas starts seeing them. Jonas, then there's
not just by the community.
Well, the world.
Well, that they take drugs to suppress.
That's true.
A lot of the urges and other things as well, like that. Like it's a very controlled.
Right. Yep. And so Jonas stops taking those drugs at one point, and then
he's required to.
Right. That's right. And he's also told he can lie, which is a unique thing.
Yes.
Which anyway, he starts feeling very apart from everyone else, all of his peers and everything like that, because of these experiences. And then there's a little boy. So his father figure in his family unit works at the essentially as in the as a doctor, kind of like a caretaker with young babies. And so there's a baby that's having a hard time, surviving and thriving. And so the father figure is allowed to take the baby home to where Jonas lives as well and spend nights there. So Jonas gets to know the baby, and the baby's name is Gabriel. And Gabriel and Jonas have this quirk that they both have light color eyes, where pretty much everyone else in the community has dark color eyes. And so Jonas and Gabriel share this link. And Jonas starts holding the baby a lot, and at one point accidentally starts giving the baby memories. Which anyway, so this baby is someone that Jonas has a deep connection with, and he finds out that his father is the baby has no longer doesn't have really a chance at thriving, and so they say the baby's going to be released, and the whole release thing is a plot point throughout the book where they talk about people being released, the elderly, the very young, when they're done in the community, they get released, and that's kind of just.
And that one girl,
right,
Rosemary.
Yeah, exactly, which was a precursor to Jonas in the receiver role. You don't find out much about her other than there was one, and until later on in the book. But yeah, Rosemary, they get released, and it. Euphemistically, everything's great. They just get released. It's a celebration. Good to go. Well, Jonas comes to find out that releasing just means killed. They're put down, essentially. And so he's appalled and completely disgusted. And so he doesn't want to go home anymore. He wants to get out of this community. And he wants to save the baby. He wants to save Gabriel. And so they're scheming and everything. He and the giver. Jonas and the giver are scheming how to get away until he finds out that Gabriel's about to be released the next day. So suddenly he's got to get out of there, and so he this kind of quick action sequence where he has to go get Gabriel and just take off out of the community without people knowing. So he does escape on his bike with the baby, and it then follows him out into the in-between areas, in between communities, where he just rides off into the wilderness. And they essentially starve, and they're starving, and he's trying to keep the baby alive with happy thoughts and happy memories that he's giving the baby. And at the end of the book, there is this beautiful memory of that he got near the beginning of his apprenticeship from the giver, this memory of being at the top of a snowy hill on a sled, and he rides down in the snow, and at the bottom there's a house with lights on and people inside, and it's warm, and I remember if there's singing or anyway something like that, just a very happy snow memory. And at the end of the book, that's how the book ends. He and Gabriel are on at the top of a hill on a sled, riding down towards this home where they will be accepted and welcomed. And that's the end. So let's dig into any ideas or thoughts from that. Anything pique anyone's interest or something they want to discuss? Is that a no?
Sorry, there's a lot of background noise right now on my end. So
okay, no worries. Okay, Cameron, anything you wanted to talk about?
I found it interesting as he was receiving the memories, how he maturated much quicker than the other kids that he was with, and
Right.
I believe he, particularly when he received the color red, he started noticing one of his childhood friends that she had red hair and
Oh, right. Right. That's true.
other things like that.
Yeah.
I found that really kind of like some profound things. Like they've repressed so much of things for this striving for this utopian ideal that you've you've stopped seeing color.
Right.
Like you've stopped seeing these basic things.
Right.
Just so we could all be the same. Which just like it boggled my head then as a child when I first read it, and
Right.
subsequent times of reading it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, people in real life see color differently, and since everybody must be all the same, except the people who are actually the same, they get killed because they're not allowed to be identical.
That's true.
That's a plot point, I think. There's like
Yeah.
two twins, and they're not allowed to look the same, so they get released.
Right.
One gets released.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like you have colorblind people who would see the world differently than colored people, so I guess you just have to eliminate the difference completely.
Right. Right. It is a really interesting take on how, and the fact that this is all done by controlling memory, essentially. I mean, it's not said that way, but like the fact that when Jonas is deciding to leave, with these memories are going to come back to the community, and he talks about this with the giver, and the giver says, "I'll just have to help them through it," and they're all going to have to experience these things, and that all of this color and all of the uniqueness of individuals is controlled by the fact that we've repressed memories. It's interesting, very thoughtful.
Yeah, I always kind of likened it to somewhat like scriptural things, like Adam and Eve didn't know anything till they took of the fruit, right? So I always kind of thought it in the same kind of way. Like if no one teaches you anything and they make you live in ignorance,
Right.
you won't see it the same.
Interesting.
Or you can
Yeah.
make everything the same. So if you limit the knowledge that is given, eventually, I guess,
Yeah.
you live in this black and white sterile world.
Right. What's really interesting, when I was preparing for this podcast, I was reading a little bit about how the book was received, and apparently still, but certainly 10, 20 years ago, a lot of schools banned the book, which is crazy to me, and is almost like this like crazy irony of like, okay, well, we want to control our environment, and therefore we won't let this book come in, and it's about communities that control their environment. So yeah, I mean, book banning is generally not a great way to achieve an end, and the giver was banned and is banned apparently in some schools. So, but I'd say the majority of schools do require it. So you kind of got both sides of the coin here. One thing I wanted to talk about was the ceremony where they get their assignment, and like I read this young, like I think like honestly I don't remember, was I 10 or 11? And like that the feelings that you get evoked when like you're a kid and you get completely left out of something it's so like all consuming and distressing, and I feel like it's really well captured in the book that like when he gets skipped, it's like the world's ended, like they're going on without him, and he's just like completely no longer a part of the community. Like for those few minutes or however long it is, whether other people are being assigned, he's completely gone. And
I imagine it's
yeah.
exacerbated by how critical this day is for the rest of his life. It's
Right.
like being told he doesn't have a future anymore.
Right. Exactly. Right. And that's you know, I think every kid has that experience of like just feeling completely left out of something and just feeling like I don't belong, and that feeling of just complete dread and overwhelming despair. And yeah, I think that's well captured by the book. So okay, other moments from the book that are worth touching on.
I think I popped up for a second. What I was going to say is, I believe the elders actually had to apologize for him for that as well.
Oh, right,
After giving him that sense of dread,
right,
which was also rather novel to him. Like these elders who are, don't do wrong. Like that's kind of part of the community. As you get older and more proficient in your things, you don't hear as much apologizing as the children are learning. So it's kind of significant.
right. Yeah, one thing Matt said, and I don't think he said it on mic, but he said it near the beginning, that he believes that what happens at the end is that Jonas dies. It seems pretty open for interpretation, but any thoughts about that?
I thought it was confirmed by the author that he doesn't die, because there's like sequels to this book.
Yes, that is true. You're correct.
I do like the ambiguity
So do I.
of where he ends up.
Right.
He rides off into the sunset.
Yep.
What's on behind the sunset? Nobody knows. The other thing I liked is that once he decides to leave, with Gabriel, the baby, the plan of like releasing the memories to the community, it doesn't show that being put into action. Once he leaves the community behind, he doesn't know what happens to it.
Right.
So after he leaves, either things could have changed and the giver could have like followed their plan of returning the memories to the community, or things could just be carrying on exactly the same. And, having babies get murdered because they are identical twins or whatever.
Right. That's an interesting.
And he's chosen to separate it from himself, so he no longer gets to see the consequences of that.
Yeah, that is really interesting because some authors kind of take the narrator, omniscient view of like, okay, while Jonas is writing off, here's what's happening in the community. But yeah, in the giver, you never know, right?
Mm-hmm. And the decisions of the character affect what the reader gets to see of the world.
Right. Right. Yeah, that is interesting.
This is sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
This is one of the books that is a progenitor of a lot of tropes in other stories, specifically the selection process. I think this is one of the when was this published?
1993.
The olden days.
Yeah.
93.
Yes.
That's not that old.
Well, for us, it's not that old, but for the younger generation, Cameron, it's pretty old.
It's the late 19th century. That's ages ago.
20th century.
20th century, that's true. That system always confuses me.
I know, it's baffling.
The late 1900s.
Yes,
then.
exactly.
Yes. I have read a number of books that have their own process of selection within the world building of like, and then all the children line up and the village elders decide that you become like a builder or a fighter or a guardian. And I've read a number of books that have that trope. And then usually the main character is the super special one who gets the super special calling and learns the truth of the world.
Right. Right.
Like the Divergent series, or
there's one where it's like I don't remember, Shattered Soul or something. Divergent is a big one.
What's another one I read recently? Unsold series by, is it Will Wright? Anyway, same kind of thing, selection process. How they touch this magical water is.
Yeah, I think that's the one I was thinking of.
Okay.
It is interesting. I mean, you'd have to be a better, more knowledgeable literary scholar than I to trace the evolution of dystopian novels through the ages. But I do feel like I agree as far as like this book was kind of spawned a generation of dystopian ideas. And yeah, the selection process, the sameness and all that kind of stuff. You have your 1984, you have your Brave New World predating this, but they're kind of different in kind versus The Giver, which I feel like you said, like a lot of different things come that are modern dystopian ideas that kind of, at least in my mind, trace their origin back towards that time. The Giver.
Have you read A Wrinkle in Time?
I have, yes.
There's a scene in that book where they're going to a planet and the neighborhood is all the same. And like even the bouncing of the ball with the children playing in the yard is synchronized across the entire world.
Yeah.
And the effect of that, to use it as a kind of horror of a society that doesn't allow for variance, was really interesting to me in that case. And I think it illustrates a really good point. Of all of the books that use those kind of tropes, they're really getting at a point of a society that's all the same is a horror society.
Right. Yeah.
As for the selection process, I'm not quite sure why that bit of this book in particular struck so many different authors to include it within their own worlds.
Sure.
Maybe it's just a convenient way of making sure that everybody knows that the protagonist is special.
Right. Yeah. The moment where they find out that they are unique and everyone finds out, that they have this special gift. Yeah.
The YA dystopian novels,
right,
where the main character has the super special powers that nobody else has, because you have to be super special in order to be a dystopian protagonist.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah, I think that's right. It is also interesting in view. I feel like a lot of books, and probably more fantasy, but they focus on eye color as like this like distinguishing attribute. Is like I'm thinking of the Brandon Sanderson Stormlight Archive, but I know it's across a variety of other books and genres where
especially in anime.
Oh, really?
You know that the main character is important when they have the luminous purple eyes or whatever.
Oh, okay.
But yes, that is a trope. In fantasy, it can frequently be distinguishing fantasy races or the super magical powers that the elemental wizard uses to activate their magic powers. And I like that trope personally because I think glowing eyes are cool. But there's a series where the main character is like ostracized from his village because they're like a desert community and thus not white, and he has these luminous blue eyes that make him stand out from everybody, and it's like a huge point.
Okay, that's really fun. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know it was an anime, and yeah, I think it's really interesting because it's something that, especially as a kid, like it's something you figure out really quick. Like, oh, I've got blue eyes, I've got brown eyes, I've got, Harry Potter has green eyes. It's like this identity thing where, and then it's sucked into.
Yeah. When I was little, I heard all of the princesses that are in the fairy tales. They all have blonde hair and blue eyes, and the witches have red hair and green eyes and all of that. And I have brown hair and brown eyes, and so I was like, man, I must be a common peasant.
Right. That's my fear with these types of books, like where the light eyes are special. Like, and obviously, I once again, thinking about the Brandon Sanderson Fantasy Stormlight Archive, where light eyes, like the whole part of the book is like trying to undermine that idea.
Light eyes denote nobility.
Right, exactly, and that's built into the culture. But like the ethos of the best characters is that that's not true. It's a person is determined by their own decisions and. But yeah, young kid.
I thought it was really funny though. Yeah. The in that series, the primary character who has dark eyes, Kaladin Stormblast.
Mhm.
He gets magic powers, and then his eyes also turn
Go
white,
right.
and it's really funny because he's constantly written as being really frustrated by it.
Yeah. But
Does not like his light eyes.
yeah. So in a book like this, where it doesn't, the Giver is a much shorter read, so it doesn't have all the number of words and pages to kind of flesh out the idea that light eyes, you don't have. It doesn't make you special. You can be special with whatever color eyes you have. Like I sometimes concerned that kids that have different colors of eyes don't feel like they are the hero in their own story, and everyone should feel like they're the hero in their own story. Darn it. So, anyway, okay.
I mean, if we think about the majority of the fairy tales that have been propagated by a magical company that starts with a D,
DreamWorks.
something like that. They were all, mostly German fairy tales, and the Aryan race was blonde-haired, blue-eyed. So, take that as you will.
Yeah.
I think the moral of the story here is don't make characters with eye color special because that's racist.
Yeah, well, you can make one as long as there are multiple special people of lots of different variety. I don't know, like.
I think it should be that your hair color you can only be special if you have like blue hair.
There you go, because you can do that yourself.
pronouns.
Like, go ahead and
Uh-huh.
dye your hair and have fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So if I dye my hair, then I can have superpowers?
Exactly. Dye your hair blue.
Yeah.
You can fly.
No, what you do is you go and you get exposed to high levels of radiation, and then the radiation turns your hair white.
There we go.
Because that's how it works.
Yeah, of course.
And then because you have white hair, you can be the protagonist.
Yes, love it.
That makes so much more
Definitely
sense.
try this at home, kids. It's a great idea.
Yes. I want superpowers, so I'm going to play with deadly chemicals and radiation. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Back to the actual story that we're discussing.
Yes, back to the Giver. I think there's only one other thing I'd like to discuss before I'm done, and that's just the ending. I know we've already talked about it a little bit, but the ambiguity that we talked about, and the fact that this is something I talk about with my wife and my kids very frequently. I think books and movies, sometimes well done ones, need to stand alone. And the idea that they have to be a trilogy or 4 or 5 or 6 parts or whatever sometimes actually weakens them. The Giver in isolation, I think, is a very good book. And I actually haven't even read the other. Apparently, I think there are 3 other books. It's a 4-book series. I haven't even read the other ones. My wife has. She said they're pretty good. But in isolation, like, the end of the book is so powerful because it is ambiguous, because it's left up to the reader and kind of your interpretation of what happens. And as it's already been mentioned, like, the subsequent books in the series, they tell you what happened at the end of the book. It's like, well, I don't want that. Like, in my head, this is what happens, and I don't want to be told otherwise. But that is not to necessarily discredit Lois Lowry. If I had a printing press for money, and I could just print money, I would probably print money. And so if Lois Lowry's got like this massive following and they're demanding more books from her, and she's like, well, I can do this, then all right, I'm not going to falter for that. So
you should do an episode on the history of the printing press. I would show up to that and talk a lot.
Okay.
I know many things about the printing press. Anyways, I would agree with that. There are 3 other books in the series. There's Gathering Blue, Messenger, and Sun, which is an interesting naming scheme.
Okay.
But I think that one of the key things to know as a writer is you have to know when your story ends.
Yeah.
You're telling a story, and especially in a lot of modern media, it drags on for the hype and the views and the whatnot.
Right.
The cash cow.
Yeah.
It goes on.
I said modern media. That's hilarious. Have you ever read Charles Dickens?
Okay, so this is a long.
Well, I was thinking a bit more specifically of certain things, like, I don't know, Squid Game.
Okay. Yeah.
Sure, yes, Charles Dickens, also modern media. But your story ends when you're done telling it.
Right. Right.
And that is the point at which Jonah's story ends.
Right.
He continues on afterward, but the story that is being told closes there. The messages that are being communicated end there.
Mm-hmm.
And to continue on afterward would feel cheap, almost.
Right.
No
Yes.
hate to Gathering Blue. I think it's also about a different community and a different thing.
Okay.
So it doesn't really go back to Jonah. But a lot of times people continue stories because they have more ideas
Right.
that they didn't have space to include in their story.
Sure.
Which is why I think that we should normalize just posting your drabbles as separately, not as like a cohesive story. Like you write your story and you send it out, and then you send all of the extra scenes, like in movies,
Oh,
the
sure.
deleted scenes.
Right.
You publish that also by itself,
Yeah.
and then you get all of the good juicy bits that you didn't have room to fit.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, because you're right. Like the story should stand on its own, but that doesn't mean that the author doesn't have other ideas that they want to put out as well. That makes sense. Yeah, I like it.
They should put me in charge of books.
And
you're volunteering to be part of the elders then?
Yes, I want to control the historical record of information. I'm trustworthy.
Right.
You can trust me with all of your
Very.
written documents.
Okay.
yes, knowing your father
Actually-
and your tone of voice currently, I might say it sounds a little suspect.
Speaking of books, within the world of The Giver, there's only like 4 books that every community has. There's like the what is it? The school books that they teach you says you have to know how to read, and the rule book, and that's all that the people within the community have to read, right?
Yeah, I'd forgotten
Something
that.
like that.
Right.
And I'm double checking something, but I feel that Lowry rewrote the ending from the
Really?
original one
That
when
would
she added other books.
really.
And I want to double check myself on that
Okay.
really fast, but I feel that happened.
Well, I love ambiguous endings, so if it has, I don't want to hear about it. Darn it. So I refuse to read the other books too. I am a big fan of the movie Inception, and I do not ever want there to be a sequel because it is ambiguous at the end there as well, right? So ambiguity in the end, I think that like it leaves this poignant like, and write your own conclusion, make your own ending to this story. I think there's.
I'm trying so hard to contain my book recommendations right now. I have a story for you.
Okay. Well, hey, this podcast series, this book podcast series, we're gonna extend on for quite a while. We've been doing the basics of now for like 5 years.
Excellent.
So we're gonna be discussing many books over the course of the next few years, and everyone is welcome to join. And well, I think, like I said, we have a lot of avid readers in this podcast. So we'll have a variety of different books to discuss and different perspectives to take on them. So, okay.
And I might show up again. Who knows?
Love it.
I also might not. So
Well,
don't count on
okay.
it, viewers. I know I'm now your favorite cast member.
That's
I know.
right.
But I have my own life, so you have to be able to go on without me.
That's Patreon, Carl.
Oh yeah. Well, we are discussing the idea that we're going to do this series as a Patreon series. So in order to get access to our book club, you'd have to contribute a few dollars or something, because we're trying to motivate ourselves to record more. We know we still have thousands and thousands of people that listen every month. And so we'd like to deliver content, but we also need motivation to deliver content. So at some point, it's not necessarily about the money as it is the motivation to continue. So I don't know. Anyway, but well,
It's an idea.
It is an idea, and if we do a Patreon page, then we'll certainly take suggestions for books. because these don't have to be just books that we've all read. What we already are in discussions for naming a book that we all want to read, and we can all and then discuss it after, as a traditional book club does. So we'll do
homework.
exactly, yeah. As if you school children, we have a variety of school children that join us on as listeners as well, both from middle school to high school to college, and so if you want additional homework, join our Patreon and we'll give you more books to read. But yeah, let's see if I can get that.
Yep.
All right, Cameron, did you have the final word here?
I do have the final word. I was wrong. She did not rewrite it.
Okay.
It stayed the same.
Okay.
That's good,
That
I
is
think.
good. I think that's good. There are, sometimes authors bow to the wishes of their. I think Charles Dickens in Great Expectations wrote 2 endings. I don't know if that was necessarily because of the outcry of the public, but I don't remember, but I feel like it might have been. And I say, darn it,
You know who really did that?
Who's that?
Sir Arthur Conan Doyle kept
really?
having to change his endings because the mob would get him.
Oh, yeah?
His own mother called him up and was like, "Bring back Sherlock." And he was like, "No, killed him. He's gone." He created his own worst enemy.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Moriarty was an excellent enemy.
Yeah. Okay.
Some of it reads like fan fiction to me. There's a part in one of the Sherlock Holmes books where he comes back and Watson is like, "Oh my gosh, you survived." And he's like, "Yes, am I not a man of great intellect? I had a parachute on when I fell off that cliff." And John is like, "That's incredible. Well, what about Moriarty? Did he die?" And then Sherlock is like, "Moriarty is also a man of wit. He too had a parachute and fell off the cliff." And so that's how he brought them back. He just kind of had to
well, that's cheap, isn't it?
pull them from the grave.
Yeah.
Yep. It's unfortunate.
Oh gosh. Okay, well, that's there's some teasers for future podcasts to come on the insight that we have.
Yes, ask me about Sherlock Holmes.
There we go.
I will tell you. I will tell you.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining, and we'll be back again soon with we'll do more basics of podcasts. We're going to continue educating the masses, but the books, I think, are also good and insightful literary masterpieces, and maybe not literary masterpieces. We can read any and all of them. So, yeah.
Remind me to make you read the 2016 Wattpad fan fiction as an example of non-fine literature.
Okay.
I think it will go very well.
We all love fan fiction, don't we?
I was going to also just say, if you do want us to do more of the book stuff, please write in, let us know,
Yeah.
Jump on our Facebook page and things like that. Leave in the comments.
Yeah.
Let us know.
Yeah. And if you want that Patreon account, I've started creating it. I haven't finished yet because we're all busy. But I'm going to finish it at some point, and we'll get things going there. All right. Well,
so are we done talking about the book now?
We are done with The Giver. We will. Yeah, I know. Oh, did you have any last something you wanted to share about it?
A last thought that I had been considering is an observation that I had made. Sorry for dragging us back into this.
No, this is great.
An observation that I had made about the technology.
Okay.
It's mentioned in the background that there are aircraft and pilots and streets, and it seems like a fairly modern society.
Right.
But all of that hints to a background that doesn't show up in the book very much. Like, if there are pilots, where are they flying to? Where are they getting their supplies? What's going on in the greater world? What happened to the computers? They're not mentioned.
Right.
I can't remember if they mention having electricity. I'm pretty sure they do, but I can't remember it being a specific place where it said. And then the electric generators hummed as the lights turned on.
Right. That is interesting.
So it's interesting because it implies that there's this development that's been going on that led to this insular community that still has the holds of technology, but kind of the culture and learning and community that goes with it is gone.
Right. Yeah, I think isn't that how the book starts? Or one of the early scenes is about a pilot that like buzzes the community, and that like everyone's scared, and then someone comes over the speaker, like one of the elders, and says, "Oh, we took care of that. He's been released," and everyone feels so happy that it's like, "Oh, okay." Like, come to find out that they killed the pilot apparently. So, yeah, that is interesting. The whole background. I feel like a lot of these dystopian books turn out to be very long, so they delve into all these different ideas. Where yeah, like Giver is much shorter. So yeah, the idea of electricity and the background of the technology isn't really taken in depth.
I'd be interested to read a Drabble from the perspective of a pilot from this community.
Yeah.
Because they're the only ones who ever go outside
Right.
to the elsewhere. Well, except for Jonah, obviously.
Right. All right.
Anyway, that had been my thought.
Wonderful. Love it. Great way to sign up. Bring us back to the Giver, because we discussed a lot of other related ideas, but I do like the finishing on a bit of a Giver topic, given that this is the Giver podcast. Okay. Well, thank you for joining, everyone, and we'll be back again soon.
Bye.